So, the lesson we are going to start today is respiration, and the topic which we are going to cover under this lesson is the human respiratory system. The learning objective related to this topic is to learn the structure of the respiratory system and to outline how breathing takes place. Students, can you identify this organ? Can you tell us how it helps us? What is the function in which this organ is helping us? What do we do with this organ? Is it important inside our body? Where is it inside our body? Just take your time. Try to locate this organ. Where is it located in our body? Yes, this organ is the lungs, and it is the one which is helping us to breathe. Every single second we are using this organ by the process of breathing. But what is the difference between breathing and respiration? Breathing is a continuous process that involves both inhalation and exhalation. Inhalation means, children, to breathe in air. Exhalation means to breathe out air. We breathe in oxygen during the process of inhalation. We breathe out carbon dioxide during the process of exhalation. Respiration is the process in which food is broken down in the cells to release energy, which is known as the process of respiration, or also called as cellular respiration. Breathing is a physical process, children. What is the meaning of physical process? Physical process means we can see somebody breathing. We can see somebody is breathing in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out, right? So we can see somebody's physical movement. That is called as a physical process. Whereas respiration is a biochemical process, because respiration happens inside the cell. It is a chemical reaction we cannot see from outside. We cannot see that, oh yeah, this person is having respiration inside his body. We cannot see that. It is an internal chemical process happening inside the cells. Okay, breathing is a part of respiration, but respiration involves breathing to release energy. So without breathing, children, we cannot do the process of respiration, or without breathing, respiration will not happen. Breathing is the process by which oxygen is going into the lungs, and from the lungs it goes into the blood, and from the blood oxygen goes into the cells, and in the cells the respiration process happens. So unless and until the oxygen is not reaching inside the lungs, oxygen will not reach inside the cells. So breathing is the starting process for the respiration. Breathing is there, then only respiration will happen. Breathing is the physical process which helps to take in the oxygen, which finally goes into the cells. Then respiration happens. So respiratory system involves system. As you remember, children, system. A system is an organ system. So which organ system? Respiratory system. A group of organs, they will make this system. So it is not only one organ, a group of organs, right? So respiratory system involves, the first organ is the nose, the nasal cavity. Let's see in the diagram, where is nose? The nose is here. We can just hold it, right? But inside the nose is a big cavity, or the chamber, which is called as a nasal chamber. And as we go down the nasal chamber, we can see the pharynx here. This part is the pharynx, okay? And then down the pharynx is another part which is called as the larynx. Another name of larynx is voice box. So this is the place from where the voice is generated. Down the larynx, as we go down, we will see a pipe-like structure, right? A tube-like structure which is called as windpipe. One more name of windpipe is trachea. Okay, I would like you all to learn both the names. So in the exam, maybe I will give you windpipe, maybe I will give you trachea. You should be familiar with both the names. Do you remember, children, at the same place we have one more pipe, as we have done digestive system, do you remember there is one more pipe? What is that pipe? That is food pipe. What is the other name of food pipe? Esophagus. Okay, so equally at the same place, two pipes are running, two tubes are running, one for taking in air, that is windpipe, one is taking in food to the stomach, that is food pipe. Okay, it's not that only one tube is taking both. Okay, so keep in mind there are two tubes equally running. Now what is next? After the windpipe further divides into two parts, which is called as the bronchi. Can you see this? One bronchi is going to the left lung, one bronchi is going to the right lung. Okay, further this bronchi divides into many branches. Can you see this? Branches, highly branched. These are called as bronchioles. These are called as bronchioles. Okay, now these bronchioles are closing in the end with the knob like structure, with the balloon like structure, and these are called as alveoli. There the give and take of oxygen and carbon dioxide is happening, and oxygen is happening. Okay, we'll come into this later, how it happens, what is the mechanism there happening in the alveoli. A big mechanism is happening there. It's very interesting, children. So by now today you should only learn, but today you have to just learn the names of the organs of the respiratory system and where are they located in our body. Okay, so now let's go ahead and see the magnified, deeper view of this respiratory system with their functions. So here is the detailed structure along with the function of respiratory system is given here. So students, you can just find out, you can locate the various organs related to the respiratory system along with their functions. So let's have a quick look at these organs. Nose provides as a passageway for the air from outside to inside the lungs. Mouth also allows the passageway for the air going from outside to inside the lungs and from inside to outside also. So keep on remembering, children, keep remembering that the air keeps in and out, air keeps moving in and out. Then the next part is the epiglottis. Epiglottis is a flap-like structure or a small cover-like structure which covers the food pipe when we breathe in air. And at the same time, the same epiglottis covers the windpipe when we swallow the food. The next one is the nasal cavity. The nasal cavity is moist and it has some hairs which allows to trap the dust particles and the germs in the nose itself, and it keeps the air moistened because we cannot take in the dry air into the lungs. After the nasal cavity comes the pharynx, and pharynx is another name of pharynx is throat, and it is the common passageway for air, food and liquid. Down the pharynx is the voice box or the larynx. This is the place from where the voice is generated out, which comes out. Next one, if you see the large view of the thoracic cavity or the main respiratory organ, the lungs. The lungs, you can see the outermost covering of the lungs is called as the pleural membrane. So pleural membrane, it covers the lungs and lines the chest cavity. Then lungs is the main organ for the exchange of the gases. What are the gases being exchanged in lungs? Oxygen goes from the lungs to the blood. Carbon dioxide goes from the blood into the lungs and then it is moved out of the nose and mouth. Then you can see here these white parts, children. These white part are the ribs. These are the ribs. These ribs, they form a cage-like structure which is called as a rib cage, and you can feel that in front of your chest. It's a cage-like structure which protects the lungs and the heart. Imagine if there was no rib cage, what will happen? The lungs and the heart will be directly in contact with the skin, and many times we are doing some physical activities, we are jumping, we are falling and all. So it may hurt our organs. So these organs are protected by the rib cage. In between the ribs, you can see the red colored muscles. These are the intercostal muscles. So these muscles, they help in the movement of the ribs when we are doing the breathing process. So when you breathe, can you see some movement? Can you feel some movement? When we breathe in, the chest goes up. When we breathe out, the chest goes down. So this movement is happening because of the intercostal muscles. Down the entire respiratory system, you can see a thin muscular sheet, a very thin sheet, which is called as the diaphragm. Okay. and this is the diaphragm which separates the respiratory system from the digestive system or the lower part of the body. Trachea is, you can see here, trachea is the long tube like structure which is called as also windpipe, and it allows the air to move out and move in from the lungs to outside the body and from nose to inside the lungs. And further, trachea divides into two branches, and those are called as bronchi. The white part you can see here, the bronchi. Bronchi further subdivides into highly branched structure called as bronchioles, and in the end of the bronchioles there is a knob-like structure, a sac-like thing called as alveoli. Alveoli is the place where the main mechanism of diffusion of gases is happening. Exchange of gases is happening. And what are the two gases being exchanged there? Carbon dioxide and oxygen. So carbon dioxide goes from the blood into the alveoli, and oxygen goes from the alveoli into the blood. So there are two main processes when we are breathing. The very first process is inhalation. Inhalation means taking in air with the help of our nose. We take the air in, and that is called as inhalation. Inhale. Hail means to take in air. Exhale. Exhale means to exit of air. The air is going out of the body. So when we take in air, what are the changes happening in the rib cage? The rib cage moves up and it protrudes out. The diaphragm, remember diaphragm, children. If you don't know what is diaphragm, just go to the previous lesson, Sunday's lesson. Click on the video which is attached there, go through the video, and you will see a nice explanation, a nice video about how the diaphragm looks like. Diaphragm is just a thin, very thin muscular sheet which separates the thoracic region, this entire thoracic region, and the lower abdominal region. This is separated by a thin sheet which I am highlighting here in blue color. This is the diaphragm. This is the entire diaphragm here. In the next diagram, this is the diaphragm. Okay, the diaphragm is the region which separates the thoracic and the lumbar region. So what are the changes happening when we inhale air? When we inhale air, the diaphragm contracts and it moves down. What happens when we exhale air? When we give out carbon dioxide, that time ribs, they come down and they goes in. Whereas the diaphragm, it relaxes and it moves up. Okay. So here in this animation, you can see what are the changes happening in the rib cage when we inhale. See, it is moving out, right, children? And the lungs is full of air, right? When we exhale, the lungs, they squeeze, the diaphragm, it goes up, and the rib cage, it also goes in. See the changes here? Okay, so you should know, children, what is the difference between the inhalation and exhalation. The first one is external intercostal muscles, they contract. What is the meaning of intercostal muscles? Go back to your previous video. There you will find the muscles in between the ribs, they are called as intercostal muscles. Okay, the rib cage moves upward in the inhalation process, whereas the rib cage moves down in the exhalation process. The diaphragm, it contracts in inhalation, whereas the diaphragm, it relaxes and it curves upward during the exhalation. The volume of the thoracic cavity, the chest cavity, okay, it increases during inhalation process, whereas the volume of the thoracic cavity, it decreases during the exhalation process. The air pressure inside the thoracic cavity decreases when we inhale, and the air pressure in the thoracic cavity, it increases when we inhale. The air in inhalation process, the air will enter the lungs. In exhalation, the air will exit, or it is forced out to move from the lungs. Students, inhalation process and exhalation process difference is very important. Please learn the changes in the diaphragm, in the rib cage, in the intercostal muscles during the process of inhalation and exhalation. This is going to be with you for 3-4 years more. Okay, so please keep an eye on these two differences. So here we have an experiment which is showing how the lungs, they inflate, they contract, they relax when we breathe in air. So in this experiment, children, you can make this at home also. You just try to make this at home, and please send me the entire setup doing the experiment in my WhatsApp, please. It's very easy. It will not take much time. You all have straws. You can get the straw when you drink some coffee or some juices. You get the straws from there. Don't throw them. Just collect those straws. And those straws are acting as a trachea or the bronchi. And you can just see here. Take a bottle. You can take any juice bottle. You can cut the bottle from the lower end. From the lower end, cut that bottle. Be careful, children, while using the knife and scissors. Just do it in front of your parents. Do not do it alone. Be very careful. Okay. Now, once you cut the lower part of the bottle, just try to put a balloon over here. Okay. A balloon like this. Fix it and try to tie that balloon tightly. Now, what happens? Inside, what you will do, children, here you will put the cap. The bottle cap is there. Make a small hole in the cap. And through that hole you will put a straw, the juice straw, okay, and try to make 2 straws like this, so that we can fix 2 balloons which is representing the 2 lungs of our inside the body. So the 2 balloons are acting as the lungs, and the long straw is acting as a trachea or windpipe, and the bell jar is acting the bell jar or the bottle which you will take, which will be acting as the thoracic cavity or the chest region. And the lower balloon, this balloon is acting like the diaphragm. So what happens when you fix everything over here, tie them tightly, children, then try to just leave this upper end open. Now what you will do, you will try to pull this balloon down, okay, after fixing everything nicely. Make sure there is no hole there, okay. When you pull this balloon down, you will see the the balloon is inflating. It is swelling up. It is inflating, okay. It is becoming bigger in size. So what is the meaning of this, children? That when the thoracic cavity, when the diaphragm goes down, the lungs, they become filled with oxygen. They are filled with air. So when we breathe in air, where is the diaphragm? Up or down? The diaphragm is down, okay. The diaphragm goes down. The diaphragm is represented by the brown colored balloon, okay. When we breathe out air, the lungs, they squeeze. They do not have any air inside them. Where is the diaphragm? The diaphragm goes up, okay. Do this, and here is the YouTube link which I will share you in the WhatsApp when I will share this lesson link with you. It's very easy. Try to make it at home. Send me the videos of how you are making and show me the experiment when you are doing this. I want to see the balloons inflating and deflating. Okay. Now, what is the meaning of gas exchange? What are the gases, children? What are the 2 gases involved in this process of respiration? 2 gases are there. One is oxygen, which has to go inside our body and it has to reach inside our cells, because the oxygen is the gas which is going to burn the glucose inside the cells to give us energy. Without energy, we cannot live. Life will not exist without energy. And without glucose, energy will not come. So whatever glucose we are eating, whatever carbohydrate we are eating, it is getting digested to glucose, as you all have done in digestive system. Once it is digested and when it is absorbed in the small intestine, this glucose reaches inside the cells, and there this glucose will react with the oxygen which we are taking by the process of inhalation from the lungs. It goes into the cells. But how does it go into the cell? The entire body is having the cells, right? So how does the oxygen from the lungs goes directly into all the cells? Lungs are just in the thoracic cavity. That's what we are going to study here. Okay. So gas exchange is again which 2 gases are getting exchanged? Oxygen will go from the lungs into the entire body. by some mechanism where we'll see that, and the carbon dioxide from the entire body will go into the lungs and then it is thrown out of the body. As the oxygen goes in, the same path will be taken by the carbon dioxide to move out of the body. Okay, and this is the passage of air from nose till the last part of the lungs, that is the alveoli. So it goes from nose to the nasal chamber, pharynx to larynx to windpipe to bronchi to bronchioles, and from bronchioles to last part is alveoli. This is the last part. Okay, these round ones, these are the alveoli. Okay, let us all do quickly these labels. Let us label A. What is A? A is the windpipe or trachea, which leads to further two branches which are branched in two. Down we go. Each branch is called as what? They are called as bronchi, and further these bronchi are subdividing into various small branches called as bronchioles. And what is in the end of bronchioles? What are the end of what? How is the bronchiole ending? So bronchioles, they end up making the knob-like structure or the balloon-like structure called as the alveoli. Alveoli, they have very thin wall and they are curved like this, which increases the surface area of the alveoli. So the bigger the surface of alveoli, the bigger gases, the more amount of gases will be exchanged. Here are the movements of alveoli when we breathe in and breathe out. So when we breathe in, the alveoli becomes like a balloon. It inflates. It becomes bigger. When we exhale out, when we breathe out, the alveoli, they contract. They deflate. So here is the structure and the adaptations of the alveoli. Alveoli, they have very thin wall. Okay. Since they have very thin wall, so it's very easy for oxygen gas to cross this thin wall and go inside the blood vessels. So you can see here, children, that this is the round structure. This is the alveoli with very thin wall, and alveoli is surrounded by the blood capillaries. Can you see this? Okay, so both the blood capillaries, the blood vessels and the alveoli, they both have very thin walls. So since they have thin walls, so oxygen can go from alveoli into the blood, and carbon dioxide can go from the blood into the alveoli. Okay, here this diagram is giving you a more clear picture about which gas is going where. I will use a better word instead of going. I will use a better word, diffuse. Okay, so the oxygen is getting diffused from the alveoli into the blood capillaries, and the carbon dioxide is getting diffused from the blood into the alveoli. Apply your knowledge of diffusion over here. Okay, the oxygen is more in alveoli because we breathe in oxygen. Since oxygen is more, so oxygen will go from its higher concentration from alveoli into the blood, right? And carbon dioxide is more in the blood, so carbon dioxide will go from its higher concentration from the blood into the alveoli. So apply your knowledge of diffusion and then work on this. During the exam, you may get something like, instead of the names, you will get A or B. You have to identify the gases in which direction who is going. So this is very important, children, that you should know how the gases are getting diffused from their higher concentration to their lower concentration. So this is the enlarged view of the alveoli. You can see here the round circular things, the spherical things, and this is a little bit a 2D structure. You can say the red blood cells here, they are coming carrying the CO2 from the entire body, and along with that you can see the gray particles, the brown particles here, which is inside. This is the inside part of the alveoli. Look at the bunch of oxygen which is entering, and they are going into the blood from their higher concentration to their lower concentration, whereas the CO2 will go from the blood into the alveoli from their higher concentration to their lower concentration. A 3D video, you can see a 3D animation over here clearly how the blood, which is dark or you can say a little blackish red in color, that means this blood is carrying carbon dioxide. As soon as it comes near the alveoli, the blood is taking in oxygen and giving CO2 to the alveoli. Okay, and then after obtaining oxygen, the blood becomes red in color. So you can see the difference in colors between the RBC. At here RBC is dark red, and here the RBC is bright red, carrying oxygen. Now can you compare these two alveoli? This is one of the alveoli. You can see here who has more surface area. Just look into this. So you can see surfaces are more here in this alveoli. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I open this whole alveoli, it will take more surface area, whereas this alveoli is just one round or spherical structure. It has less surface area. So this is one more adaptations of alveoli, that alveoli, they have more surface area to adapt to absorb more and more oxygen. The greater the surface area, more and more oxygen will be absorbed on its surface. More and more diffusion will happen. More and more carbon dioxide will be given from inside the alveoli to the from the blood to the outside the alveoli. Okay, so just note down this in your notebook. More surface area, so more gas exchange will happen, more diffusion will happen, so more give and take of gases will happen. Is that clear?